Let's do it, sir.
Okay, we're ready.
We're ready, Kurt.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Richard Haig, Chairman of the Airport Advisory Board, and we're calling the meeting to order. And we'll start with before roll call, we'll do the Opens Meeting Act and the procedures for the meeting tonight and how everybody to address the public and how we're going to run the meeting this evening. So I'll let Scott tell us those and go through the Open Meetings Act, and then we'll get started.
Good evening. Let me let one more person join our meeting, and then we'll get started. My name is Scott Wagner. I'm the airport manager for the city of Lawrence, and welcome to the August 4th meeting of the Aviation Advisory Board. I just have a few announcements as to how we're going to run the meeting this evening. I want to provide a few reminders to ensure that the provisions of the Kansas Open Meetings Act are met. And then later this evening, we'll have some Open Meetings Act training. Commissioners, you must state your name and title each time you speak. All motions will need to be stated clearly. After a motion is made and seconded, the chair will call on commissioners individually to provide their vote. The chair will need to announce whether the motion carried and the count of the vote. Various staff members of the city are present, and they must also state their name and title each time they speak. If we have any members of the public that are going to speak tonight to certain agenda items, those items are noted on the meeting agenda, and they will need to state their name prior to speaking as well, or raise your hand on the Zoom feature. Individuals who signed up in advance to provide public comment remotely will be called on by name, and I don't believe I received any requests to provide comment. And as of right now, we're not seeing anyone in the commission chambers. When you are called on, please unmute your listening device and state your name before speaking, and the regular 3-minute time limit will apply. The chair will call for in-person public comment when we have that portion of our agenda, and staff will direct persons that may be here in person to the podium to speak. And I want to remind everyone again to please mute yourself when you are not speaking. You can keep your video on. Since we have a small board, I think that's appropriate. And I will turn it back to our chair, Richard Haig.
Okay. First, begin with, we do have some new board members this evening. So this is Richard Haig, Chair of the Airport Advisory Board, and we will start by just doing a quick roll call of the Airport Advisory Board members. So we'll start with myself. I am here, Richard Haig, Dan Bourne.
You have to unmute yourself, Dan.
Dan, you're muted. Your mic's muted, Dan. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
okay.
You think this is Dan Bourne. You think I'd know after all this time, but my name is Dan Bourne. I'm a member of the Airport Advisory Board.
Okay. Chris Coleman.
I'm here.
Clancey Maloney.
Clancey Maloney's here.
David Heeb.
Hi, David Hebb's here. Happy to join.
James Laster.
Jim Laster.
Jim. And Tiffany Hall.
Tiffany Hall is here.
Okay. Since we do have 3 new board members, I think it would be a good idea just to go around and introduce each other and ourselves and just a little bit about ourselves. And then we can get started on the regular agenda. To begin, my name is Richard Haig. I've been on the advisory board now for a little over 10 years. The chairman for the last couple, and seeing some real good positive changes at the airport, a lot of good development out there. And hopefully we can keep that kind of growth and changes going and improve the airport for the city of Lawrence. So go down the list, Dan.
Yeah, my name is Dan Bourne, and I've been a member. This is my 3rd term on the Airport Advisory Board. Normally, we're limited to 2 terms, but I was asked to stay on because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as Richard said, it's been an interesting couple of terms. We've met some pretty significant challenges, I think, and I myself have learned a lot in terms of airport procedures and maintenance. And I'm also a private pilot. I have a hangar A9 on the Lawrence Airport.
Thank you, Dan. Chris Coleman.
This is Chris Coleman, Airport
Advisory Board member. I finished my first year on the board, learning a lot about the airport, and glad to participate in any way that I can.
Okay. Clancey Maloney.
This is my first term. I came on the same time Chris did. And I'm really learning a lot about how the airport runs and happy to be here and hope to hang around for a few more years. Thanks.
Thank you, Clancey. David Heeb.
Good evening, everybody. David Hebb, taking over for Monty as KU's representative. So my first meeting as a board member here. So excited to learn more about everything that's gone on in the past and visions for the future.
Thank you. Jim Laster.
Jim Lasser, been in aviation since 1998. Been in Lawrence for 14-ish years, something like that. Just happy to be a part of the city and sort of do whatever I can to help.
Awesome. And Tiffany Hall.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Hall. This will be my first term. I'm an aviation enthusiast. I also work for the Chamber of Commerce here in Lawrence. So very excited to work with you all on the aviation board and see how we can work together to have the airport be everything that we all would like to see it be.
Thank you, everyone. One thing I'd like to say is I think this is one of the more balanced and dynamic boards that we've had, because we have people from all walks of life as far as helping with the development from KU, with the endowment, with the chamber, and helping the business development at the airport, which has been growing exponentially over the last 4 years. So it was great to have everybody aboard. So we'll move on to the agenda, and we'll start by reviewing the minutes from the May 5th meeting. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes from the May 5th meeting? It was a pretty packed meeting. Amanda had gone over quite a few things with us to bring us up to speed on everything before she left town. Is there any changes anyone has, or any public comment about changes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Clancey Maloney here. I so move.
Okay. This is Richard Haig. Do I have a second?
Chris Coleman here, second.
Okay. Moved by Clancey Maloney, seconded by Chris Coleman. We'll do a roll call vote. So Richard, aye. Dan Bourne,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Clancey,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Tiffany. Was that an aye, Tiffany? Okay. Tiffany did nod her head aye. So
No,
it passes.
I spoke, sorry.
No problem. It's all good. So the minutes are approved. So we'll move on to
Public comment?
public comment. Do we have any public comment out? Anybody have comments or issues that we need to address? Okay. With that moved, we'll no public comment at this time. We'll move on to our regular agenda items. We have gone over the Kansas Open Meetings Act presentation already before we started the meeting. So we will go to the committee update on.
Well, actually,
am I missing something?
I do have a formal training to go through, Richard, on the Kansas Open Meetings
Oh, I
Act.
thought that was the first one. I stand corrected. We'll go through the Open Meeting Act training.
This is Scott Wagner, Airport Manager. Unfortunately, I have to inflict the annual Open Meetings Act training on all of our board members as the City Attorney's Office advises us to do. So I will share my screen and make sure everyone can see this, and then we'll go through the slides. Can everyone see the first slide? Great. This training is really required of all of our boards and commissions, so we try to do this once a year. Since we've got 3 new board members tonight, I'll probably go through the slides a little bit slower just to make sure we're all aware of the act, and feel free to jump in and interrupt me if you have any questions as we go along. See if I can advance my slide. Try enter on the keyboard. There we go. So the act is based upon some broad preambles that were put into the act when it was adopted. It's based on the belief that the public has a right to know the public business, and information is essential to the effective functioning of our democracy. And this came straight from the act in recognition of the fact that a representative government is dependent upon an informed electorate. It's declared to be the policy of this state that meetings for the conduct of governmental affairs and the transaction of governmental business be open to the public. So even though we've gone to our Zoom meetings, we're still open for the public that doesn't have access to our technology to come here in person. And we're also streaming these meetings on the internet as well, in keeping with the principles of the Open Meetings Act. So when does COMA apply? The body involved is a covered entity, and there is a meeting. Bodies that are subject to the act, it applies to all legislative, administrative bodies, state agencies, and political and taxing subdivisions. And that also includes the Aviation Advisory Board, because we do receive or expend or supported in whole and part by public funds. So we are a covered body subject to the provisions of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. And those are things that you kind of need to keep in the back of your mind as aviation board members, really at all times. But especially when we're having a meeting. So you ask, when does a meeting occur? 3 conditions must be met for a meeting. All 3 must be present. A gathering of a majority of the members of the body, and we're a 7-member body. Interactive communication, either in person, by telephone, or by other medium, like we're having tonight, a Zoom electronic meeting, and where there is a discussion of the business or affairs of the body. Those 3 things constitute having a meeting of a board subject to the COMA. For our board, a majority of the body is 4. So you kind of need to keep that number in mind. If 4 of you were gathered at Free State or somewhere else and happened to start talking about things of the Aviation Advisory Board, then you would be having a public meeting. And that would be a COMA violation if we hadn't noticed to the public that 4 of you were meeting at Free State that evening. Interactive communication applies when members are in physical presence of one another, when you're having a conference call or a telephone call. A work session, so sometimes boards have, or city commissions have, study sessions, staff briefings, video conferencing, online communications, when there is an opportunity for contemporaneous interaction like we have here tonight. Discussing the business of the body. Discussion of public business is what triggers the application of COMA. Not necessarily that 4 of you were present at Free State or any other place, but that you started to talk about the business that maybe before the Aviation Advisory Board would kick in the COMA requirements. So social gatherings are not subject to COMA if there's no discussion of the business of the body. Conferences may be attended by board members where items of general interest are discussed, as long as specific business of the body is not discussed by a majority of the Aviation Advisory Board. So we could all go to a conference together. We just couldn't huddle up in a corner and start talking about board business. electronic communications. The Attorney General of the state is really the primary enforcer of the Kansas Open Meetings Act, and periodically he issues rules and opinions regarding the act. The Attorney General has indicated that the mere fact that a communication is electronic does not raise a COMA issue. So for instance, I occasionally will send out an email blast to members of the board saying, hey, you may want to know about this thing or this event, and that's how I notify you. If a majority of the board uses an electronic communication to engage in an interactive discussion, such contact may raise a COMA issue because it starts to become an interactive communication. A single email sent to other members would likely not be considered a violation, but participation in an online chat room or instant messaging may be considered a violation of COMA because of its interactive nature. This is kind of a new slide we added this year because the Attorney General did issue a opinion regarding some interactions that did take place on Facebook. Simultaneous Facebook post by a board member concerning the business of the body can constitute a meeting under COMA. In 2020, the Kansas Attorney General found that a majority of board members posting back and forth on social media or any other medium about a recent governing body vote engaged in a meeting, even though it was merely discussion or comments posted on Facebook. So again, something else to keep in mind. The takeaway is it's important to, like I just said, keep in mind the use of advanced technology can directly affect compliance with these important state laws. And it's something that the city attorney's office does take seriously because as we will show you here at the end, we can get fined and enforcement actions can be taken against, yes, even the Aviation Advisory Board. Members are encouraged to act with caution when posting on Facebook or other social media. Be mindful whether other members are also commenting. So perhaps, I might be friends with all of you on Facebook. And if I posted something about our meeting here tonight, and then you all started commenting on my post, that would likely be a no-no. And we would want to avoid that.
I think one time that's come up in discussion is when we do get a mass email from Scott or from one of the city officials that's addressed to all the board members, is do not ever reply all. It'd be reply back to the sender, not to everybody involved with it, to prevent that from happening.
Well, thank you, Richard, for presenting my next slide. Now I don't have to talk about it. So yes, do not reply all. It's okay to reply directly to me or to another board member, but it's best never to reply all because that could start an engaging, interactive online type of discussion. Serial meetings is something that would be like a kind of a Facebook or a online chat or posting to a website and communicating in that way. It's a series of interactive communications of less than a majority that's not permitted under COMA. A violation of COMA may occur if collectively these chats involve a majority of the membership, they share a common topic of discussion, and are intended by any and all the participants to reach agreement on a matter that would require binding action to be taken by the board or agency. The body involved is a covered entity. COMA will apply, and there is a meeting. So this is just kind of a review again. We have to have a majority of the membership of the board. So in this case, it's 4 members. It has to be interactive, and you got to be discussing members, the business of the Aviation Advisory Board. COMA requirements: all meetings of entities covered by COMA must be open to the public, and proper notice must be given. So our meeting tonight is indeed open to the public, both electronically and physically here at City Hall. We posted this agenda last week, and people have the opportunity to sign up online to receive copies of our agendas as they become available. Meetings that are open to the public, they must be held in places generally accessible to the general public. So City Hall is an accessible building, especially under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Meetings must be conducted so the public may observe or listen to the proceedings, which we have covered here tonight. Providing notice to the public of our meetings. Notice of the date, time, and place of any regular or special meetings must be given to a person requesting such notice. So if anyone wants to be advised of our meetings, I have to make sure that they get them, but we have a process where you can sign up online to receive any communications of the Aviation Advisory Board or receive the agendas when they are posted. COMA does not require notice to be given within a particular time frame, but I think as a courteous practice of our board, we try to get agendas posted preferably a week in advance to give people that opportunity to come to our meetings or comment on them. Notice must be first requested before a body is required to provide it. Agendas, boards and commissions, even the city commission does not have to create an agenda. COMA doesn't require it, but if a body creates one like this board does, it should include the topics planned for discussion, which we have tonight. Agendas can be amended, and that sometimes happens even after they're posted to the public if something comes up at the last minute. If an agenda exists, copies must be available to those requesting them. So we have our agenda posted to our Aviation Board website. We have hard copies here tonight if we had any members of the public show up here to our meeting. Executive sessions, generally advisory boards don't have to worry about this. It's generally not something that an advisory body would have. The governing body, the city commission uses them for all sorts of topics ranging from contract negotiations to there's a kind of a whole laundry list of topics, personnel issues that the governing body may hold an executive session about. It's the city attorney's office advises that we should not have an executive session with the approval of that office, and certain procedures have to be followed. So this kind of gets into the penalty sections of COMA or what may happen if we would have a COMA violation. The Attorney General or the District Attorney investigates potential COMA violations. The Attorney General has stated that his office seeks compliance with the act, and that's generally been my experience. If there's been an issue, there's generally a board or even the governing body is required to go through more COMA training. The Attorney General can determine by a preponderance of the evidence COMA violations. If violations are found, the AG can enter into a consent order if it's serious enough of a violation with a public agency, and may apply to district court to enforce a consent order. And that's just simply an order to make us comply with the act. Consent order may impose civil penalties, could require training. District court action may impose court costs. The Attorney General also may enter a consent judgment with a violator. It could invalidate any decisions that would be made if we had a meeting that violated COMA, and it could result in removal from office even of a board member. If you guys have questions, I would reach out to me first. I've been in the city attorney's office now for 20 years. I can try to answer your question. If I don't know the answer, I know how to get in touch with the city attorney. So with that, I will pause for a little bit and see if anyone has any questions at this time on the Open Meetings Act. I am not seeing any, Chair, so I think we are ready to move on to our next agenda item.
All right. So the next one would be to get the committee update on the September 23rd Kansas Fly-in Air Tour event. Would that be?
This is Scott Wagner, Airport Manager, but I'm going to turn it over to Rick Bryant for that committee update. But first of all, I want to thank members of the committee that's been working on this event. We talked about it back in May, and there's been a lot of planning going on since. I know Clancey Maloney is part of that subcommittee. I think Derek Rogers, I saw earlier on the Zoom. We've had some meetings with our airport operator, Lloyd. But I especially want to thank Rick Bryant for all of his efforts the past couple months. And I just wanted to also let the board know that Rick, formerly, I guess, retired from ADG about the time I started being the airport manager, much to my dismay. But luckily, the city was able to hire him on as an independent consultant. So he is still serving the airport and the Aviation Advisory Board. I'm very happy about that. And I will turn it over to Rick at this point.
Thanks, Scott. Rick Bryant, a member of the airport staff, if you will. But my standard answer is I'm retired. So Scott asked me to present a little bit of an overview of where we're at with our hosting duties for the September 23rd Kansas Air Tour 2021. I am going to make this a, pun intended, high-level overview of my flight tonight. I do not wish to get into the weeds. If something I say prompts a question, please write it down so you remember it. Call me tomorrow or email Scott, and then we can discuss it. But in the interest of expediency and time, I'm going to go through this stuff. If you have a question or I don't explain something to your understanding, please wave and we'll stop and clarify it at that moment. For the new board members, first of all, my condolences and congratulations. I served as chair for 11 years and then turned it over to our current chair. So we both know where all the bones are buried out at the airport. So hopefully you'll stick a few in the ground while you're there. So as a reminder, back in our meeting in May, we had a representative from KDOT Aviation join us via Zoom to announce that Lawrence was selected as the first overnight stop of the 3-day tour of the Kansas Air Tour in September. Before you on the big screen is the map that we are using to promote the air tour in partnership with Kansas Department of Transportation Aviation Division and the Kansas Commission on Aerospace Education, KCAE, which was created many decades ago by the governor. And its sole purpose is to promote educational opportunities and workforce development for aviation in the state of Kansas. The air tour itself has been in force for many years. Last year, because of COVID, they did not fly. So the 9 cities are on day 1. They'll start at Wellington, then fly to Fort Scott, then to Iola, and then they will stop at Lawrence where they will spend the night and they will have the time of their life. We will put on a great show for them and a great partnership and help to promote what's going on at our airport and set the bar, we hope, pretty high. Then the next day, they will get up and depart early and head out to Clay Center, Phillipsburg, and then fly to Salina Regional to spend the night there. And my goal is always to do better than Salina Regional and compete against them. They're nice people, but we have a friendly rivalry. So I know that our stop will be better than their stop. And then Friday or Saturday morning, they'll get up, fly to Concordia, and then conclude their air tour at the Beach Factory Airport in Wichita. So they've got a lot of flying. And the first day is pretty critical to the success of the tour. And the reason is we will be the 4th stop of a long day. So get your voodoo stuff out and pray for good weather and no hiccups. And we will welcome them late in the afternoon and then show them a good time that night. The objectives of the air tour, which we had to respond to in an application package to be considered, is to improve general aviation participation across the state, increase local community airport participation, increase air tour participation and organization, promote the Kansas aviation industry in general, and also work to increase STEM educational opportunities within each local community. Now, those are 5 challenging objectives for us to do in one evening, but we're working on that. So we have a planning committee. I bothered not to put it up, the org chart up, but Scott is in charge, even though he delegates all the heavy lifting to me, which is okay. We have 3 members of our advisory board, David, Clancey, and Chris. at each are assigned tasks, and they are working hard on those. And then we have many partners throughout the community, such as our FBO, Hetrick Air Services, the City of Lawrence, Derek Rogers and his crew at Parks and Rec, Municipal Services and Operations, Fire, Medical, and the Police Department. Explore Lawrence is a partner. Lawrence Chamber of Commerce, thank you, Tiffany, is a partner. USD 497 is a partner. And Kansas University is a partner, thanks to David. The schedule is very compressed, and so I'm going to hit the highlights just to give you an overview and avoid the weeds again. But we are expecting anywhere from 40 to 60 aircraft to arrive between 5 and 6:15 p.m. on Thursday night, September 23rd. From 6:30 to 8, we are going to host these participants in a private reception and dinner at the Eurotech hangar, just a few feet off the apron. And hopefully, I'm counting on Chris to come through with the barbecue dinner. We're working on that.
Get it.
And all the volunteers that are going to help us will get to participate in that dinner as well. Then at about 8:15, 8:30, depending on how long things go, because we have, I did not include the speaking arrangements that are in flux right now, but being taken care of. So there'll be a few heads of state that will, speak and bless our little operation. And then we'll do some fun things with some drawings. But it's an opportunity for most of our volunteers, which are aviation related, to interact and network with these pilots and passengers and state officials to share with them what's going on at Lawrence and how much they love to fly and the great things about our airport. Then come Friday morning, our shuttle buses, we'll take them to the shuttle in Thursday night, which will go to Spring Hill Suites, downtown, and out to the Doubletree Hotel. They were strategically selected and were very gracious in giving us room blocks and discounted rates on hotel accommodations. Then on Friday morning, our shuttle buses will pick them up again, starting about 6:50 to 7 a.m., bring them out to the airport so they can load their baggage, check on fuel, check weather, and be prepared to take off. And Mr. Derek Rogers is going to lead the procession in his Chinese trainer. So hopefully the Chinese will let you fly. And then everything should be done and they should be out of here by about 9:30 on Friday morning. Any questions so far? Okay. What we're in need now, our needs are, we need more volunteers. Right now we have about 20 that have committed. I will say to all the board members tonight, you don't know this, but you have job assignments already. And we'll work with you on that and get you lined out well in advance. Clancey is in charge of recruiting volunteers. So if you know somebody, they don't have to be a pilot. They just have to have a love of the airport and a love of aviation and like to mingle with people. We need people that can escort pilots into the terminal building, to our registration table, over to Hetrick's desk to take care of fuel needs, walk them over to the Eurotech hangar to drop off their baggage so they can be secured while they're at dinner, and just show our friends a good time. We're working on media. We have, as you can see from the graphic that is up on the screen, this is a working layout of our facilities and how we're going to interact with them during the overnight stay. We don't have, in the past, let me start this way. In the past, when we have had an open house, it has been a single day event, such as a Saturday from 7 in the morning till late afternoon. And we have had anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people show up. So parking would be a challenge. So we want the public to come out, but we don't want to be overrun with people because parking is at a limited space, as you can see from the big yellow box there at the bottom of the page. And so it's kind of a catch-22 deal. We want them to come out, see the airplanes. We're working on a static display. And so we want them to come out and see what planes are available at Lawrence, but yet we really don't want too many people to come out at this time. So we're working on that. Josh Carson, the Public Information Officer for the Municipal Services and Operations Department, is working with me on media strategy, and there'll be a new web page up on the airport website, hopefully tomorrow, that you'll click on the banner at the top and it'll take you over to the new web page. Talks a little more detail about these scheduled events, links for hotels, and things that are more addressing the pilots' needs that are participating in the air tour. And then we are working on some other media issues to execute throughout the course of the remainder of August and September. Explore Lawrence has been kind enough to provide us with empty bags to put things about Lawrence in, and they have a few pieces of literature themselves. But if you know somebody that has, what we call swag, we are happy to take it within reason. We have to watch weight and size because some of these people will be flying, their own single seat aircraft, and we don't want to weight them down too bad. If you know somebody that's interested in a sponsorship, it would help to help write off the cost of the dinner or our T-shirts that we are talking about having made. Chris and David are the guys to get a hold of. And then the last item, I intentionally put this in here, but it's not something I really want to talk about, but it's the elephant in the world right now, and that's COVID. With the spike in cases that we are seeing, we are in contact with KDOT Aviation. We will follow their lead and also the local health department's lead on how we're going to handle it come September. Right now, it's recommended that masks are worn inside buildings. We may have to provide a box of masks to everybody that goes inside the hangar for dinner. At this time, there are no plans to cancel the air tour because of COVID. So that's a great thing to deal with. But we'll be monitoring it very closely as we move forward into the event. So that's a quick overview. And I probably have missed something that, sparks an interest with somebody, but get in contact with me and I'll be glad to fill you in the details. I've been working primarily with each of the individual silos on the org chart to make sure we've got things covered, and everybody's doing a great job. And I'm very pleased that all the pieces are coming together nicely. And if you can imagine that, event like this, there's a lot of plates that are spinning. And, fortunately, we've got a great team and a lot of good partners. So we're looking forward to an outstanding event. Oh, the last thing I want to mention is USD 497. We have had for several years a single-day youth aviation camp out at the airport, and it has been geared towards middle school students. And so I've reached out to the curriculum director, and they are excited to talk about using some of the free curriculum that's available from Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association to incorporate through various grade levels throughout the district the week of the event to help educate and promote aviation. And it even goes as far as, STEM opportunities. So it checks off one of the big boxes for us in the objectives list. And right now, there's not much more I can say about that because things are kind of in flux. They're evaluating, we're talking, we're having a good time. But look for the school district to get involved at that level and help promote aviation from the classroom, which will be a great thing for us and hopefully move some people towards the path of young people towards wanting to get into aviation and become future pilots. And, there's a whole list of career opportunities that you can do in aviation. So I'm going to be quiet now. And if there's any questions of a general nature, be glad to address it to the group. If not, sadly, you all know how to find me. So give me a shout and we'll talk about it. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions for Rick? This is Richard Haig, Chair. I do have a couple questions real quick, Rick. How many volunteers are you guys looking toward recruiting? And who would they talk to if they want to sign up to be volunteers?
We, a ballpark guess is right now about 30 to 40 volunteers. We have, Clancey did a great job going to a 99s and EAA meeting a couple Saturdays ago, and we pulled down about 20 to 22 commitments out of that. So volunteers will have a primary task, but they need to understand that they could be moved as the course of the day progresses into other activities. But my goal is to have at least on a one-to-one basis, somebody to receive the aircraft and kind of be their personal chaperone while they're on our property, to get them to the registration table, pick up their bag, take them over to the Hetrick counter and make sure they got their fuel needs taken care of for the next day, and then move them over to the Eurotech hangar for letting us store their bag while they're in the next hangar for dinner, and then they can pick them up and get on the bus. So, 40 people in that nature would probably take care of us. And then I'm talking with Scout Troop about parking detail and directing cars to our parking area, as well as Civil Air Patrol. So, it takes a lot of people to put this thing on, and but if we get to the total universe between all those groups of about 50 or 60, I think we'll be in fine shape for Thursday. We can get by with less on Friday morning because the focus will be getting out of there as quickly as possible. So won't have to worry about dinner, won't have to worry about parking. It's just get them to their plane, get them ready to go, and Derek leads the way, and then the rest of them will follow. And hopefully he won't fly all the way out to play center and then come back and be late for work.
Sounds good. We appreciate your guys' effort. Pretty neat. Do we have any other comments for Rick or any other questions?
Yeah, this is Ron Renz. Rick, do we have in place a plan in case the weather is inclement on Thursday or Friday? Maybe if it's good Thursday they can get in, but then Friday it's bad they can get out. Do we have some kind of a plan for that, or have we thought about that?
We do not have an exclusive plan for weather. I'm following KDOT's lead as to what they want to do. And as we get closer to time, we'll have that in place. Right now, I think we're pretty far out on that. So we'll just have to monitor the weather. Obviously, with our instrument landing system, we can handle just about anything. And who knows what Friday morning is going to bring as well. So I don't know what kind of slack they have in their schedule, but we'll deal with it accordingly.
Yeah, just I'm sure that KDOT hopefully has thought through that. If not, that may be something to raise. Just so somebody's thinking about it. My theory is if you plan for it, you won't need it. If you haven't planned for it, you'll need it. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Ron. This is Richard Haig, Chair. I was just going to ask Scott. On there, it does say the action of the board tonight is to approve the plan that's put in front of us. Is there the approval is just that we recommend the city go with this plan, or what would the actual action be? Because it's more of an independent group that's doing it rather than the city.
This is Scott Wagner. Yes, I asked Rick to kind of provide an update on what the subcommittee's been working on. I think back in May when we announced this air tour, my goal was to have a plan by tonight's meeting that we could share with the board and have the board kind of weigh in as to whether we needed any corrections and to sign off on it. We don't have a written, document in front of you aside from the maps we're sharing tonight. So I think we were just generally seeking comments from the board. Richard, I don't know that we necessarily need to vote on an action item tonight.
that's kind of where I was going with that. Thank you. So we won't take a motion or action on the plan as it was presented tonight. We'll receive it as an update, and we appreciate your guys' effort. So moving forward, we'll go with the airport manager's report and see what Scott has to bring us.
Great. This is Scott Wagner again, airport manager. I'm going to pass out a couple hard copies to our board members that are here tonight. And Richard has one. I will email this document out to the group so you'll have a hard copy as well. But since our May meeting, I was looking at the video the other day. It seems like that was a lifetime ago for me. For those of you that are new to the board and the public that may be tuning in tonight, I took over airport manager duties at the beginning of May when Amanda Saheen left the city, and we've been busy. So tonight is an opportunity to just kind of update you at a pretty high level on all the things I've been working on since taking over as airport manager. The first item I want to talk about is I attended the Kansas Association of Airports annual conference that was held down in Newton from June 7th to the 9th. I attended that in person, and wow, that was a great opportunity for me, being a new airport manager, to just touch base and meet other airport managers across the state and other aviation professionals. There were several aviation companies that had displays set up in the conference room adjacent to the main meeting room. And I was able to speak to several engineering firms about our engineering services request for qualifications that we had just issued on June 1st. So that was a nice opportunity for me to touch base with those firms, encourage them to submit responses to that RFQ. FAA staff also presented information on a lot of really timely and valuable topics, and they were not there in person; they were there on Zoom. But it was good to get that information straight from FAA staff, and they were able to interact with people that were present there. And believe it or not, they also asked me to speak at the conference, even though I was a brand new airport manager. I spoke on the topic of managers with many hats, and I continue to wear a few hats, and it was a good round table. So I really enjoyed that conference, and it was most valuable. Going back to the topic of our engineering services, request for qualifications. I think Amanda's generally been talking about this topic with the group. But on June 1st, the city issued an RFQ, and that was basically asking engineering firms to submit proposals in response to this request for qualifications that we had put out there to serve as basically the engineering advisor for the city, for the airport, for the Aviation Advisory Board. On June 21st, we held a voluntary pre-submittal meeting out at the airport, which was really well attended. I think we had about 10 or 11 people out there that day. Staff gave a brief presentation, and then I appreciated Lloyd Hetrick meeting us out there and assisting with the tour of the airfield, because those folks got to see kind of firsthand the projects that we had put in our RFQ that are upcoming, that we expect to receive FAA funding on, as well as a couple other projects that we've got some KAIP funding on, and they were able to see the issues that we need to address on the ground. So that was super helpful. Responses to that RFQ were due July 1st, and we did receive proposals from 4 firms. We decided to interview all 4 of those firms, and we did so this week on August 2nd and 3rd. And I want to give a shout out to Aviation Board Member Dan Ward. He sat in on all those interviews and the scoring of those proposals, and he's put in his time this week as a member of the board. I really appreciated his being part of that process and his insight. And we hope to select a finalist in the next week and start working on contract details with the selected firm. And I think before I go through the rest of my laundry list, I'm just going to turn it over to Dan for a couple minutes to give his insight as to how he thinks that process went. Dan?
Yes. Thank you,
I
Mike.
think you muted, Dan.
Again, Yeah, it went really well. I think all of the four firms were very impressive, both in their RFQ, what they wrote, and then also in their presentations to myself and the city staff. I think whoever we choose in this, we really can't go wrong. I think any of the four would be a great choice. And the RFQ was basically they would give us their personnel, their experience. They detailed how they would handle the different projects that we had outlined for them. The taxiway, the taxi lanes, the apron, the rehab of 119. They gave really detailed explanations of how they would handle that. And then they also had recommendations from area airports, from airport managers and city staff and other cities around here as to how they would work with them. And like I say, they all came across as extremely strong candidates. So I think we can't go wrong no matter who we choose out of that bunch. And that was, pretty much my reaction to it. I learned a lot, and I really appreciated, the chance to sit in on those meetings.
Thank you, Dan. Scott Wagner, Airport Manager. I appreciate your service, and I would echo Dan's comments about the four firms we interviewed. Any one of these firms will hit the ground running, I believe, in terms of being ready to address the projects that we need help with. They were all impressive. They had to identify their project manager, their lead engineer, and their inspector that they would have on the ground for any projects. And they had to bring their team. And so we were able to, ask questions of that team, and they all had done some homework. They had spent some time working on the issues we needed addressed, and they all kind of had some unique solutions to whether it's drainage issues out on our apron that Lloyd has seen in the last couple months, to addressing some drainage problems with the taxiways outside the Hangar A that we have some funding to fix. So I was like Dan said, very impressed with all the firms.
Yeah.
So I'll keep going down my list and then Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dan Bourne, an Aviation Advisory Board member. I just wanted to comment the areas that we kind of concentrated on in the presentations when we had a chance to ask questions of them. There's going to be a lot of infrastructure money coming down the pike here fairly soon. So we an important point was the relations with the FAA and the KDOT, how well they knew the people there, how well they knew the procedures, and could they be in a position to help us get some of that money? And also, could they be in a position to let us know about what we can do to apply for some of this? So that was a priority. And we also looked for a vision for the airport. We wanted to be more than just somebody just to tick off a list of their clients. We wanted somebody that knew the history, that knew what we wanted for the Lawrence Airport, and that would be able to help us achieve that. So that was another thing that we looked at. And we also looked for experience in aviation and airports, and not just civil engineering experience, but experience with having looked at, airports before and knowing how to handle problems with runways, problems with taxiways and grades and runway lights and all that sort of thing. So those were kind of the areas that we were looking at in particular when we asked questions of them.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Scott Wagner, Airport Manager. And one final thing to add to that is all four of these firms have staff within 30, 40 minutes of our airport. If we have a problem, we can have staff on the ground from these firms that day. And so that was kind of a key component of our analysis as well. So let me keep going, and then I'll open it up to the board to see if you've got questions on all these projects. I've got a brief update on the Hetrick Hangar 2 project and the budget adjustments that we talked about at our May 5th meeting. On June 15th, the City Commission approved the lease agreement and the cooperation agreement with Hetrick Air Services for the construction of their second hangar. So those items did get approved, and the agreements have been executed. The governing body also approved the airport budget adjustments that we presented to the board at our May 5th meeting. And since that time, we've been working with Hetrick's engineering firm to finalize public improvement plans for that project. In fact, just yesterday, I got a revised set of public improvement plans from that engineering firm. Staff has received all of our necessary approvals from FAA regarding the plans to extend the taxiway to serve the new hangar. So I think from that perspective, the city's ready to go, and we've got staff working on construction documents so that we'll be ready to bid that project here in the coming weeks. The Kansas Airport Improvement Grant Award on June 15th, that item was also on the City Commission agenda. They approved acceptance of this grant and authorized the city manager to sign the agreements with KDOT. So we have those grant documents signed in the amount of $184,000 was the grant award. And all four of those engineering firms we talked to had specific proposals as to how to design that project. Because we told them at that meeting back in June out at the airport that that wasn't part of our RFQ, but that would probably be the first project they would be working on. So they are ready to go, and I'm excited to work with them on that project. And that project involves rehabilitation of the taxi lanes on each side of T Hangar A and the pavement areas north of T Hangars B and C. So that project has not been designed. So again, I hope to have our new engineering firm work on that project and get going on it, and they'll be tasked with that. If you remember at the May 5th meeting, as Richard said, it was kind of a packed agenda. We also had a presentation from Uplift Coffee, that little coffee company there in North Lawrence, wanting to come out to the airport and serve clients, especially on KU game days. And we were able to get that approved. We were able to work with the city manager's office and get that approved administratively versus having to take that to the governing body. On July 22nd, Rick and I met with the owner, Chris O'Brien, and they brought their truck out there on site. And we worked out a position kind of in the long-term parking area, like we presented at the May 5th meeting, to stage a truck on KU game days. And they plan to also be there at our September 23rd air tour event. We really look forward to this partnership with Uplift and think it'd be good for the pilots and tenants and persons using the airport. And I know they were going to reach out to Lloyd and the other tenants at the airport to see if they could serve them during the week as well, because they're able to offer out of their coffee truck box lunches and obviously beverages. And I think it'd just be a good partnership, and they're just good folks. So we'll report back probably at our next meeting as to how that arrangement is working out. The gate controller project, we have some funding through CARES Act grants to automate the two remaining gates that are not automated. This project is being designed by an MSO engineer by the name of Gary Reinheimer. He's on staff here, and he's been doing the design in-house. It was tweaked a little bit after we got some feedback from the FAA staff, and he's been working on the project plans the last couple months. They're pretty much finalized, and I expect that bid to go out here this week or next. And we'll report back probably at our November meeting on the status of that project as well. We will work with, if we do have it under contract by September, we'll make sure that the contractor doesn't get started before our fly-in event so that we don't have a construction project underway at that time. I think Amanda has reported generally on some CIP funding that the city had to improve the airport terminal. We've engaged with a local architecture firm by the name of CT Design to work on the terminal upgrade project. A meeting was held with that firm on May 19th out at the airport to kind of review what funding we had and what the needs were out at the airport. Staff discussed the ADA bathroom installation, and we found a location in the terminal building for construction of an ADA accessible bathroom. We're currently working with the firm on rehabilitation of the existing bathroom and other terminal upgrades that can be funded within the scope of our CIP budget this year. We hope to finalize construction plans and get that project bid this fall as well. So we should have a good update for you by our November meeting on that project. Some more funds hopefully will be coming our way. The United States Secretary of Transportation announced on June 22nd a list of airports eligible to receive American Rescue Plan grant funds, and that is the most recent COVID stimulus package that has come out of the Biden administration. And the Lawrence Airport's eligible to receive an amount of $59,000 from that first round of funding. I haven't had time yet to work on an application to obtain that funding, but I will be working on that and working on the criteria for what uses are eligible for that. And I'll report back on that at our November meeting as well. A couple months ago, I talked to a former board chair, aviation board chair by the name of Greg Smith, and he is organizing a fly-in event for I think they're a type of experimental aircraft called Pulsars out at the airport. That's going to be held September 9th through the 12th. I talked to him today, and that event is still happening. And he's happy to have any of our board members come out that night and to see those aircraft as they fly into the Lawrence Airport. So they'll be around for a few days. Again, the dates are September 9th through the 12th. And I think the final thing I have to report on at our last meeting, it was announced the dates of the 4 states conference. That's of the 4 states of the central region of FAA, and they have an annual conference, and it probably wasn't held last year, but this year it is being held August 25th to the 27th in Kansas City. I have registered to attend that, and I'm looking forward again to meeting with FAA staff and other aviation professionals in the area. And we were able to get registration provided by the city for board member Dan Bourne to attend as well. So we'll provide an update on that conference at our next board meeting as well. And I think that wraps up the laundry list of stuff I've been working on since May, and I'll answer any questions.
This is Richard Haig. Does anybody have any questions for Scott on the items, on the updates? The one comment I would have is on, as we move forward in the future, the 4 states conference with the FAA is a real eye opener for board members that can attend, because it does give you how the FAA views the airports and procedures at airports and how they encourage cities to operate them. So it kind of gives you an idea of what direction, especially when it comes to ground leases and things like that, what they're expecting from us. So then down the road, as these come around each year, if other board members want to attend, I would encourage talking to the city about it, because it also gives you a chance to meet the people in Kansas City and get to know, put a face with a name. It's not just somebody either approving or disapproving of something we sent to them or changing it. It actually puts a human face on the other end that understand what they're looking at.
Hey, Richard. This is Dan Bourne, Aviation Advisory Board member. I attended a couple of years ago before COVID hit, and I would also encourage anybody that would like to attend that to try to attend. It's not just FAA procedures. There's many contractors that are there. They're giving presentations. You can learn about all the different processes in construction and building and maintenance and vehicles and asphalt and concrete and just, any number of issues that come up in maintaining an airport. I found it a very eye-opening experience.
Yeah. Thank you for going, Dan. Okay. We'll move ahead to the FBO report. Lloyd, are you still with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me there?
We can.
I think the best thing I can do is just explain kind of some of the growth we've had since our last meeting. I think I've mentioned we brought on the Robinson helicopter dealership. We just took delivery of our second new R44. We have an R22. Those are currently being based out of Kansas City downtown. We started flight instruction, air tours. We'll be putting that on our charter certificate as well. So hope is to expand this operation over into the Kansas City market with helicopters and really even branch on back into Topeka, Lawrence area as well. We just brought on, I've got another technician starting in the shop here in 2 weeks. Bring me up to 4 mechanics now in the shop. So we're growing in that area as well, which creates a new problem with space in the current maintenance hangar. It's tight, but we do see the work growing, and with the addition of our managed aircraft, we're getting additional work there as well. And I think we're there with the city, it sounds like, Scott, with all our approvals. So our hope is still that we break ground on the number 2 hangar before winter, so that by March we're moving into it, and that's still on being. I think it's still being proposed with that, to where we should have all that in place to be in there. Be nice to be in before the winter, but that's not going to happen. But at least we're making growth that way. So I think that's all. I look forward to working with Rick on the air tour, trying to get that and Chelsea figured out. I think that'd be good for our airport. We're planning on displaying at least our fleet of aircraft for the flight intrusion, and we're going to bring a helicopter over as well to kind of display in reference to the operation. So I think that's all I've got. If any questions?
Lloyd, I got a question. This is Jim at Airport Advisory Board. Since Uplift has been approved, do you plan on adding them to your AirNav? Since we don't have any restaurants or anything listed, I think your FTO is pretty complete, but it's missing probably that part of it for fuel stops. They might drum up some fuel for you.
Yeah, I'll look into that. We can put a list of different venues on it. Obviously, if not on it, I think that would have to come from us. So let me look at adding that on. And I think they were also looking at just some periodic service at the airport during the week, even possibly. Basically, now we're getting more staff on at the airport. But yeah, I'll reach out and get that added to that list. That'd be great.
Mr. Richard Haig, Chair. Does anyone else have any questions for Lloyd with the FBO operations? Thank you, Lloyd. Appreciate the update. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the housekeeping. It is the evening for selecting our chair and vice chair for the next year. And so open the floor up for people that want to nominate somebody, or people that are interested in serving on the chair or vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, this is Chris Coleman, member of the advisory board. I would nominate Richard Haig as chairman.
Then I would accept a nomination for that.
This is Clancey Maloney, board, and I will second that nomination.
Do we have any other nominations or people interested in the chair? So, with that said, I guess we'll take a vote to see those in favor of me staying on as chair for another year. And I would say yes, and go down the list. Roll call. Dan Bourne.
Aye.
Chris Coleman.
Aye.
Clancey Maloney.
Aye.
David Haig.
Aye.
Jim Laster.
Aye.
And Tiffany Hall.
Aye.
Okay. It's unanimous. Holly, I will be happy to serve with you guys for another year. Hopefully we can keep everything growing the way it has been. And so we do need to nominate a vice chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would nominate Clancey Maloney for vice chairman.
Okay.
I would second that. This is Dan Bourne.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? This is Richard Haig, chair. So we have a nomination for Clancey Maloney and seconded by Dan Bourne. So I will start the roll call and I will say yay. Dan Bourne.
Aye.
Chris Coleman.
Aye.
Clancey Maloney.
Aye.
David Haig.
Aye.
Jim Laster,
Aye.
and Tiffany Hall.
Aye.
So it's passed unanimous. So Clancey, looks like we're going to work together another year. Look forward to it. So with the nominations in place, I think we've reached the conclusion of our agenda for the night. Is there any other comment, public comment, or comments by board members before we adjourn?
Hey, Richard, this is Dan Bourne, Aviation Advisory Board member. I want to emphasize I'm not volunteering for it, but are we still nominating, electing a secretary or someone to transcribe the meetings for the minutes?
No, this is Richard Haig, chairman. That was delegated to city staff so that they want the city to be responsible for the minutes as they're presented instead of a secretary from the advisory board. So,
okay, great.
So we'll take the roll call on record and at the beginning of each meeting, and then the city staff will produce the minutes for us and put them online so that they'd be official.
Good deal.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I want to say welcome again to our new board members, and thank you for all the service our existing board members do. And as everybody's finding out that it's not just on the advisory capacity, but we get to be some ambassadors for the airport and for the city as well as visitors come into Lima Whiskey Charlie and make it our home airport. So with that being said, I'll move to adjourn. I don't know. Do we?
Yeah, let's go ahead and then take a motion in a second and roll
Okay.
call.
All righty. So I'll take a
Seconded.
motion. Okay, seconded by Dan Bourne. And roll call, I say aye. Dan Bourne,
Aye.
Chris Coleman,
Aye.
Clancey Maloney,
Aye.
David Haig,
Aye.
James Laster,
Aye.
and Tiffany Hall.
Aye.
All right. With that said, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. See you November 3rd, I think is our next meeting date. See you all then.